All right, so have you ever been curious about these e-reader thingies?
Yeah.
Maybe you're tired of lugging around those heavy books, or maybe just curious about the tech?
Right.
Well, in this deep dive, we are going to compare two of the biggest names, Kobo and Kindle,
Okay.
and we'll try to figure out which one might be your perfect reading companion.
It's so interesting how e-readers have evolved to address the limits of, physical books, but also even traditional screens.
Yeah.
Remember when tablets were like all the rage for reading?
Oh,
Turns
yeah.
out they weren't the ideal solution.
Right. I used to think my tablet would be perfect for reading, but the glare was just terrible, especially outdoors.
Yeah.
And don't even get me started on trying to read on my phone at the beach.
Oof, that's the worst.
The
The
worst.
key difference is the technology.
Okay.
E-readers use e-ink, which
Mm-hmm.
is a reflective display technology.
Yeah.
So think of it like tiny capsules of ink that rearrange themselves to form words and images, like
Oh,
mimicking the look of ink on paper. And this means you get this crisp, glare-free reading experience even in direct sunlight,
nice.
something those LCD screens just can't match.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. No more squinting at a screen trying to make out the words.
Right.
But let's get down to like the nitty gritty.
Sure.
This source has this table comparing Kobo and Kindle.
Okay.
Where do we even begin?
Well, screen size is always a good starting point.
Okay.
The Kobo Sage has an 8-inch screen, and the Kindle Paperwhite 5 comes in at 6.8 inches.
Okay.
That extra real estate on the Kobo can be a game changer if you enjoy graphic novels or manga with all the detailed artwork.
I can see how that would make a difference. I actually love reading manga.
Yeah.
So maybe Kobo is calling my name, but what about the price?
Price is definitely a factor, but it's important to look at the value you're getting.
True.
The Kobo Sage starts at $129, while the Kindle Paperwhite 5 comes in at $89.
So the Kindle is more budget friendly, but what features justify that price difference for the Kobo?
One key difference is the bookstore ecosystem. Kobo supports an open format, meaning you're not limited to just their store.
Okay.
So you can find books from various sources, including like independent authors and smaller publishers, and often at lower prices.
That sounds appealing, especially if you're looking for something specific or want to support those indie authors.
Absolutely.
What about the Kindle store?
Kindle's strength lies in its massive library, particularly for English titles.
Okay.
It's very tightly integrated with Amazon.
Yeah.
So the purchasing and downloading experience is incredibly smooth. However, you're essentially locked into their ecosystem.
So Kobo, more flexibility, Kindle, more curated, streamlined experience.
Exactly. It's
Okay.
like choosing between an independent bookstore with its quirky charm, a massive chain with its convenience and vast selection.
Right.
Really comes down to your reading preferences.
I'm starting to see the appeal of both options. What else should we consider?
Well, waterproofing is becoming standard in e-readers now.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Both the Kobo Sage and the Kindle Paperwhite 5 have an IPX8 rating.
I remember seeing that on the table, but I'm not really sure what that means practically.
Sure. An IPX8 rating means the device can be submerged in water up to a certain depth for a specific time without being damaged.
All right.
So you can enjoy reading by the pool, in the bath, or even on a rainy day without worrying about your e-reader taking a dip.
Okay, that's peace of mind right there.
Right.
Now let's talk about those special features.
Yeah.
I see that the Kobo Sage has stylus support, while the Kindle Paperwhite 5 emphasizes its adjustable warm light.
Those are great examples of how each brand caters to specific needs.
Yeah.
Imagine you're a student who needs to annotate research papers, or someone who loves taking notes directly in their ebooks.
Right.
Well, the Kobo Sage's stylus support turns your e-reader into a digital notebook.
Oh, that's very useful for anyone who likes to interact with their reading material.
Yeah.
What about the Kindle's warm light? I admit that sounds pretty tempting.
It's a game changer for nighttime reading.
Okay.
Instead of that harsh blue light, the warm light mimics the feel of reading a physical book under a lamp.
Hmm.
Makes it much easier on the eyes, and it could even help you sleep better.
So it's all about creating a more comfortable reading experience.
Exactly.
Now, I'm curious about some of the more nuanced details that the source mentions.
Right.
What exactly does ultra clear display mean for the Kobo Sage?
They've incorporated the latest e-ink Carta 1200 screen technology,
Wow.
which boasts a higher contrast ratio and improved resolution compared to older e-readers.
Hmm.
So the text appears crisper, and the overall reading experience is significantly enhanced. Think of it like upgrading from standard definition to high definition for your books.
So it's not just about the size of the screen, but the quality of the display itself.
Right.
What about the Kindle Paperwhite 5's faster page turns? I imagine that's a welcome improvement.
You're right. Previous Kindle models sometimes drew criticism for their slightly sluggish page turns.
Oh, really?
The fifth generation addresses this head-on with a 20% increase in speed,
Wow.
making the reading experience much smoother and more responsive.
That makes sense. It's those little details that can make a big difference in the overall enjoyment of reading.
Absolutely. And it highlights how both Kobo and Kindle are constantly striving to improve the reading experience.
Yeah.
They incorporate user feedback and push the boundaries of what e-readers can do. It's an exciting time to be a digital reader.
Okay, so we've got a good handle on the basics, screen size, price, bookstore options, and some key features.
Right.
But I'm curious about the internet capabilities of these devices.
Sure.
Can I browse the web on them, or are they purely for reading books?
That's a great question, and one that often leads to confusion.
Yeah.
While both the Kobo Sage and the Kindle Paperwhite 5 have built-in web browsers,
Okay.
they're not really designed for extensive web surfing.
Mm.
Think of it more as a tool for quick lookups, checking definitions, or maybe browsing some simple websites.
So I shouldn't expect to be streaming movies or scrolling through social media on these devices?
Not really. Remember, the e-ink technology is optimized for reading, not for displaying complex graphics or animations.
Right.
You can technically access the web, but the experience will be quite basic compared to what you're used to on a smartphone or tablet.
That makes sense. So it's all about prioritizing the core function of the device,
Right.
which is reading without the distractions of the wider internet.
Precisely. It's like having a dedicated sanctuary for books,
Yeah.
a place where you can focus on the words without the constant pings and notifications of the digital world.
I'm starting to see the appeal of that.
It's a refreshing change of pace in today's hyper-connected world. But speaking of connecting, let's delve into another interesting aspect: the ability to upload your own documents to these e-readers.
Oh, that's something I hadn't even considered. What are the implications of that?
It opens up a world of possibilities, especially for students, researchers, or anyone who works with a lot of digital documents.
Yeah.
Imagine carrying all your important papers, articles, and notes in a single lightweight device.
No more printing out reams of paper or juggling multiple files on a laptop. That
Yeah.
sounds incredibly convenient.
Exactly. It's about streamlining your workflow and making information readily available at your fingertips. And it highlights how e-readers are evolving beyond just books to encompass a wider range of reading materials.
It's like having a portable library and a mobile office all rolled into one.
You got it. And that versatility is a big part of what makes e-readers so appealing.
Yeah.
They're not just about escaping into fictional worlds, but also about enhancing how we learn, work, and interact with information in our daily lives.
This has been incredibly enlightening. We've covered so much ground already, but I know we've only just scratched the surface. I
Yeah.
can't wait to see what other insights we uncover in this deep dive.
I'm excited to continue our exploration.
Yeah.
There's a lot more to unpack when it comes to this whole Kobo versus Kindle debate,
Right.
and I think you'll be surprised by some of the nuances we'll uncover.
I'm ready.
Let's do it.
Okay, so we've talked about the tech specs, the bookstore ecosystems, and even the joys of reading in the bathtub without fear.
Yeah.
But what about the actual reading experience on each device?
That's a great question, and it's where personal preference really comes into play.
Okay.
Both Kobo and Kindle offer a range of customization options to tailor that reading experience to your liking.
Give me some examples. What kind of customization are we talking about?
Well, think about font size and style.
Okay.
If you prefer a larger font for easier reading, both devices allow you to adjust it with a simple pinch and zoom gesture. You can also choose from a variety of fonts to find one that suits your taste.
I know I'm guilty of constantly tweaking the font size on my phone when I'm reading articles.
Yeah?
What about things like margins and line spacing? Can you
Yeah.
adjust those too?
Absolutely. Both Kodo and Kindle give you granular control over those aspects.
Okay.
So if you prefer wider margins for a less cluttered look or tighter line spacing to fit more text on the page, you can easily customize it to your liking.
So it's all about finding that sweet spot for your eyes.
Exactly. And then there are the built-in dictionaries and translation features.
Oh, yeah.
Let's say you stumble upon a word you're not familiar with.
Yeah.
You can simply tap on it to get a definition without interrupting your flow.
That's super handy. No more flipping through a physical dictionary or switching apps to look up a word.
Right. And if you're reading a book in a foreign language, you can even translate entire passages with a few taps. It's like having a language tutor built right into your e-reader.
Wow. I'm impressed. I knew e-readers were convenient, but I didn't realize how much they could enhance the reading experience itself. It's like they've thought of everything.
They really have. And let's not forget about the social aspect.
Oh, yeah.
Both Kobo and Kindle have features that allow you to connect with other readers, share recommendations, and even discuss books.
That's right. I've heard about Kindle's Goodreads integration, where you can track your reading progress, rate books, and see what your friends are reading. Does Kobo offer something similar?
They do. Kobo has a feature called Reading Life, which tracks your reading stats, awards you badges for hitting milestones, and allows you to connect with friends who are also using Kobo.
Nice.
It's a fun way to add a social element to your reading journey.
I love that. It's like having a virtual book club right at your fingertips.
Hmm.
Okay, so we've talked about customizing the reading experience, but what about the actual feel of reading on these devices?
Ah, the tactile experience.
Uh,
Well, both the Kobo Sage and the Kindle Paperwhite 5 are designed to be lightweight and comfortable to hold for extended periods.
okay.
They have a slightly textured back that provides a good grip, and the page-turning buttons are responsive and easy to use.
I've always wondered about the page turning buttons. Are they as intuitive as swiping on a touch screen?
You know, some people prefer the tactile feedback of physical buttons, while others find swiping more natural. It really comes down to personal preference.
Okay.
Both Kobo and Kindle give you the option to choose your preferred method of page turning, so you can experiment and see what feels best for you.
That's great. It sounds like they've really considered the ergonomics of reading on these devices.
They have. And it's worth mentioning that both Kobo and Kindle offer a range of accessories to further enhance the reading experience.
Oh, yes, the accessories. I've seen everything from stylish cases and covers to stands and reading lights specifically designed for e-reader.
Exactly. You can even get screen protectors to prevent scratches and smudges,
Right.
which is especially important if you're prone to tossing your e-reader in your bag.
It's like creating your own little reading ecosystem.
You got it. And speaking of ecosystems, let's circle back to the bookstore discussion for a moment.
Okay.
We talked about the pros and cons of Kobo's open format versus Kindle's closed system. But I'm curious, what about the availability of specific genres and titles?
That's a good point. I've heard anecdotally that Kindle might have a wider selection of mainstream English titles.
Right?
But what if my reading tastes are a bit more niche?
Well, that's where Kobo's open format can really shine. Because you can access books from various sources.
All right.
You're more likely to find obscure titles, independent publications, and even self-published works that might not be available on Kindle.
So if I'm a fan of indie authors, Kobo might be the way to go.
It's definitely worth considering. And don't forget, Kobo also has a strong presence in international markets and offers a wide selection of titles in languages other than English.
That makes sense. Especially since they're based in Canada, a multicultural country with a strong emphasis on linguistic diversity.
Exactly. So if you're a multilingual reader or enjoy exploring literature from around the world, Kobo's diverse catalog is a definite advantage.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground when it comes to comparing Kobo and Kindle. But I'm curious, from your perspective as an expert, what are some of the less obvious benefits of e-readers that people might not consider?
That's a great question. One thing that often gets overlooked is the portability factor.
Okay.
These devices are incredibly lightweight and compact, making them ideal for travel or commuting. Imagine trying to lug a stack of physical books on your next vacation.
No thanks. I've been there and it's not fun. I'm all about packing light.
Right, and with an e-reader, you can have an entire library at your fingertips without sacrificing precious luggage space.
Speaking of libraries, the source mentions that some e-readers allow you to borrow books directly from your local library. Is that a common feature?
It is becoming increasingly popular. Both Kobo and Kindle offer integration with library lending services, allowing you to browse your library's digital catalog and borrow books wirelessly.
That's amazing. I love the idea of supporting my local library while also enjoying the convenience of digital borrowing.
It's a win-win situation. And it highlights how e-readers are evolving to become more integrated with existing reading ecosystems,
Yeah.
making access to books easier and more affordable.
So it's not just about buying books, but also about borrowing and exploring different ways to access reading material.
Precisely. And let's not forget the environmental aspect.
Oh, right.
By choosing an e-reader over physical books, you're reducing paper consumption and minimizing your environmental footprint.
That's definitely a plus, especially in today's world where we're all trying to be more mindful of our impact on the planet.
Absolutely.
Mm.
And it's a factor that resonates with many readers who are looking for sustainable alternatives to traditional book consumption.
Okay, so we've talked about the portability, the library integration, and the environmental benefits. What else comes to mind?
Well, another often overlooked benefit is the accessibility features offered by e-readers.
Oh, yeah.
For people with visual impairments or reading difficulties, e-readers can be a game changer.
Right.
They allow you to adjust the font size, change the contrast, and even listen to audiobooks, making reading a more inclusive and enjoyable experience.
I haven't thought about that, but it makes so much sense. E-readers can really break down barriers to reading and open up a world of possibilities for people who might otherwise struggle to access books.
Exactly. And it's something that both Kobo and Kindle have been actively working on,
Yeah.
incorporating feedback from accessibility experts and users to ensure their devices are as inclusive as possible.
I'm really impressed with how much thought and care has gone into the design of these devices. It's clear that they're not just about replacing physical books, but about enhancing the reading experience for everyone.
You're absolutely right. And that's what makes this discussion so fascinating. We're not just comparing two brands, but two different philosophies of reading in the digital age.
It's like a glimpse into the future of literature, and it's exciting to see how technology is shaping the way we read and interact with stories.
It is exciting.
Yeah.
And I think we're just scratching the surface of what's possible.
Yeah.
As technology continues to evolve, who knows what innovative reading experiences await us in the future?
I can't wait to find out. But for now, let's get back to the Kobo versus Kindle debate.
Mm.
We've explored so many aspects already,
Hmm.
but there's one key question we haven't fully addressed yet.
Ah, yes. The age-old question. Which one should you choose?
Exactly. We've laid out all the information, but now it's time to help our listener make a decision. Kobo or Kindle?
Hmm.
Where do we even begin? I think the best way to approach this is to think about like your own needs and priorities as a reader. It's not about saying like this one's the winner, but about finding the e-reader that fits you best.
I agree. Let's recap some of the key points if you're someone who reads primarily in Chinese or you like that flexibility of an open format.
Right.
Kobo is a strong contender. Their support for multiple file types also makes them a good choice if you want to read PDFs or other documents on your e-reader.
And if I'm mostly an English reader and like having a huge library and a seamless experience, Kindle might be better.
That's a good assessment. Kindle's integration with Amazon's ecosystem is really smooth,
Yeah.
especially if you're already an Amazon Prime member.
Right.
You get access to Prime Reading, which offers a rotating selection of free books.
Nice.
In Kindle Unlimited, it's a subscription service that gives you unlimited access to a huge library of titles.
Those are some tempting perks.
Yeah.
What about the reading experience itself? We talked about customization options, but are there any like noticeable differences in how the devices handle things like page turns or font rendering?
There are subtle differences. For example, the Kindle Paperwhite 5 is known for its slightly faster page turns,
Okay,
which might appeal to fast readers who value that snappy responsiveness.
makes sense.
On the other hand, the Kobo Sage's Carta 1200 display offers slightly crisper text and better contrast,
Mm.
which could be a deciding factor for readers who are sensitive to font clarity.
So it really comes down to those subtle details that make a difference in your overall enjoyment.
Yeah.
It's like choosing between a sports car that prioritizes speed and agility and a luxury sedan that emphasizes a smooth, comfortable ride.
That's a great analogy.
Hmm.
And just like choosing a car, it often comes down to taking them for a test drive.
Oh, yeah, good point.
Many bookstores allow you to try out different e-readers.
Right.
So I'd recommend spending some time with both Kobo and Kindle to see which one feels more intuitive and comfortable for you.
That's great advice. There's nothing like getting a hands-on feel for the device before making a decision. Now, before we wrap up, I want to go back to a thought-provoking point that the source mentioned earlier. It talked about how e-readers have helped some people develop a reading habit.
Yeah,
What are your thoughts on that?
I find that fascinating. I think e-readers have removed a lot of the barriers that used to prevent people from reading regularly. They're so convenient, they offer instant access to a vast library of books and allow you to customize the reading experience to your liking.
Yeah,
It's like having a personalized reading coach right in your pocket.
I love that image. It makes reading feel less intimidating and more accessible,
Right,
especially for people who might have struggled with traditional books in the past.
exactly. And let's not forget the social aspect. With features like Goodreads integration on Kindle and Reading Life on Kobo,
Right.
you can connect with other readers, share recommendations, and even participate in virtual book clubs. It's a great way to stay motivated and discover new books you might not have found otherwise.
It's like a whole new world of reading has opened up.
Huh.
But do you think e-readers will ever like fully replace physical books?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
Personally, I think there will always be a place for both formats.
Yeah.
Physical books have a certain tactile charm, a sense of permanence that digital books can't replicate. The smell of old paper, the weight of a book in your hand,
Oh.
the joy of browsing a bookstore. These are all experiences unique to physical books.
I agree. There's something special about holding a physical book,
Yeah,
about turning the pages and seeing your progress as you read.
right.
It's a tangible connection to the story.
Exactly. But e-readers offer their own set of advantages. The convenience, the portability, the ability to carry an entire library in your bag. These are all compelling reasons why e-readers have become so popular.
So perhaps the future of reading lies in a harmonious coexistence of both formats, each catering to different needs and preferences.
I think that's a beautiful vision.
Uh,
A world where readers can seamlessly transition between physical and digital books, embracing the best of both worlds.
it's exciting to think about the possibilities, and who knows what technological advancements await us in the future. Perhaps we'll see even more innovative and immersive reading experiences that blur the lines between physical and digital even further.
The future of reading is bright, and I encourage our listener to explore both physical and digital formats
Yes.
to find what sparks their imagination and brings them joy. The most important thing is to cultivate a love of reading, regardless of the medium.
Well said. And that's a perfect note to end on. We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, exploring the intricacies of Kobo and Kindle,
We have it.
debunking myths and uncovering the hidden benefits of e-readers.
It's been a pleasure diving into the world of digital reading with you and our listener.
We hope this deep dive has equipped you with the knowledge and insights you need to make an informed decision about whether an e-reader is right for you. And if you do decide to embark on this digital reading adventure,
Yes.
we wish you countless hours of enjoyment and discovery.
Happy reading.